Barcelona was like playing on a sandpit. I
Yeah,
mean,
it was
like,
slow.
I
It was
mean,
slow.
poor, especially that center court. It was
Yeah.
like, it was thick clay. To Mute on a clay court, poor, like 7-5 in the third. Borna Choric, who's got some serious clay under his belt, to be a
Yeah.
set down to win three in the third. And then the draw comes out and you're playing Carlos Alcaraz,
Yeah.
like you've earned the right into the main draw. Take me to that moment when you see the draw. You're playing Carlos Alcaraz, Spanish Carlos Alcaraz in Barcelona, doing what he does, and is kind of taking the mantle from Rafael Nadal on Pista Rafael Nadal as well. How was that experience from kind of start to finish, from knowing you were going to play against him?
Yeah, I mean, it was surreal. When the draw came out, my coach Brian, he had texted me and he was just like, "Hey, you play Carlos," and I was like, "Oh, no way! Like that's funny. I was just talking about like, but like who do I play?" And he's like, "No, dude, like you play Carlos," and I was just like, "Oh wow, like that's awesome!" Like he first thing he said is like, "Man, you earned this match. Like you didn't get a
Yeah.
wild card. Like you didn't just like main draw. Like you had to win two tough matches in order to get this." And I was like, "You're right. I went into the match just like." Smile on my face. What's not to be excited about when you walk on that court. People are clapping for you when you walk on, and then they announce Carlos's name, and the entire crowd just erupts. They're acting as if it was the final of the French Open,
Yep.
and it was a first round match, and it was just like I was smiling the whole way through. Just coin flip everything, just seeing his presence. He walks on the court and he just has a little different kind of swag to him. The crowd, everyone's like, you can feel their eyes kind of watching you. And, it was an amazing experience. The first game of the match was like a 20-point game, saved a few break points, had a few game points that he saved. And that right away, once I was able to get a hold, I was like, all right, like now it starts. Like, all right, like this is ready to go. And I got kind of bagged in that first set. I lost it 6-2, but in reality, it was, I had game points in a few of the games. I had break points on his service game twice, I want to say. Had game points on my serve a few times as well. I just wasn't able to convert. But it was just the entire experience. I was so happy to be on there. I was learning from watching, him move around the court the way he played. I'd walk over to my towel box and look at my coach and be like, dude, how did he hit that? Or like, man, this is like he's doing this. Like I need to be able to counter it doing that. So it's like in the match, I was able to learn so much
Nice.
just by playing him. And that's why we decided to come over here. Is like, a lot of people, they would be like, shoot, like I'm playing Carlos, like I have no chance. But I kind of stepped on the court and I was thinking, man, like I have a chance to learn from this match. I have a chance to beat him. Like if I'm stepping on the court and think that I'm going to lose the match, why am I stepping on court? I went out there and thought that, I could beat him for sure. Like I have confidence. I've won two matches here. He's coming from Monte Carlo. Maybe he's a little bit tired. And I played my game and it was working. I had opportunity. Wasn't able to convert my set point that I had in the second, but it was the whole experience was just, it was unbelievable. And I stepped off court and the first messages that I read were, man, you can play with anyone on any surface. And I was just like, you're absolutely right. Like the fact that I was able to compete with Carlos, I felt like I wasn't getting bullied the entire match. I was able to hold my own ground and I was actually able to pressure him a little bit. It was something I'm really proud of, being able to walk off court with a smile on my face and think that not only like I didn't just lose the match, but I actually got better and that I have a opportunity later in this season, maybe like, all right, now I can play him again and I can know that I'm going to beat him. Like I have a chance to beat him. And I think that's really important for players is if you're going to step on court, you have to believe that you're going to win the match. And I think that's what I continuously am able to learn. I'm playing these top players. I played Tommy, I played Mensik, I played Carlos, like obviously guys that are all top in the world. And, I've been able to go deep with them or had opportunities to get sets. And it's just amazing kind of seeing how just by getting the chance, being a little uncomfortable, going and doing things that you wouldn't necessarily see other players do, it's able to actually help you long term.
It's a bit of a coach's question, but the set point that you had, are you happy with your commitment to that point? What happened in that set point?
I'm happy with what I was trying to do. I'm
Yeah.
not happy with my execution, but I'm very happy with, I made a first serve on your set point. That's the first step. You got to make a
Yeah.
first serve. And, I hit a great first serve, was able to go big out wide to his backhand. I made the first serve and I was able to get the first ball that I wanted. I got not a short ball, but a mid court forehand. And, I just didn't do enough with it. But you know, a lot of the times my coaches are telling me like, all right, man, you got to get to the net. Like big situations, you're very comfortable with winning points at the net. You know, guys, make them come up with something great. And, you know, I didn't hit the approach quite as well as I would have liked, but I was doing it on my terms. He came up with something pretty darn good. And, you know, I'd rather lose the point doing that than playing passively and letting him just rope a forehand.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I played it on my terms, and I'm really happy with that.
Good, because those, I always think those are the moments, right? You know, and for a 21-year-old as well, who is putting himself into these moments for the first time. I know you've had a successful career at whatever you've done, you know, and we'll get to that in a bit. But as a freshman winning NCAA's, and you know, you've clearly got the pedigree in the sport. However, but that's another step up, right? Playing Carlos Alcaraz in Spain
Yeah,
on a clay court in a tournament he's won at least once, but probably multiple times, you know, and and having that set point, how you react in that moment and being able to commit to your identity at that time is the real strength of where you are at as a tennis player, in my opinion. You know,
100%.
so that's, I guess, where that question comes from. And then you go from Madrid, from Barcelona, playing slow, sinking sand, almost clay court tennis, to Madrid. And this is what a lot of people don't realize with clay court tennis. It can change, right? Pretty
Yeah.
dramatically